Greetings sailors, and welcome to a completely ordinary, normal, not at all in any way unusual video about, well, partly the Missouri situation, but also a little about loot boxes generally too. Now, as you are aware, Missouri's going to go back on sale, but it's only going to be available through random loot box bundles basically, and it's going to be like the chains that you get with the preview tech tree lines, and you know, it could take one for you to get the ship, or it might take, well, 72 as in the latest version which we had with the Dutch cruisers. And I'm here to say this is fine. This is fine wargaming. Honestly, I don't see any problem with this, and I think, to be quite honest, that it just doesn't quite go far enough. Now, we had issues back in the day where wargaming wanted to sell everything in bundles, and some people were unhappy with that, and they eventually backed down. And obviously I was very disappointed with that. I mean, I wanted to see literally everything sold in overpriced, bloated bundles. It was basically my most cherished hope for the game. But sadly, that notion was, I don't know, just certain retrograde members of the community decided that they didn't like it, and managed to shout wargaming down, which was a very disappointing day for everybody, because obviously it would have been hugely beneficial for every single player of the game to have to pay through the nose for stuff they didn't necessarily want, and in some cases, you know, was just they were being priced out of entirely. But that's not wargaming's fault. That's their own fault. If people are living in countries where the medium income is quite low, you know, they should just go out and get a third job, for crying out loud, instead of being lazy slackers and complaining to wargaming that stuff's too expensive. Anyway, fast forward a bit though, here we are in 2021, and for a couple of years now we've been having an increasing number of loot boxes added in to various things. I mean, very first started off with the daily container drops, and then we had things like Santa containers, and I'm happy to say things have only progressed further on from there, to the point where we now have a previously available but now rare ship being made only available through this gambling mechanic. And like I said, that's wonderful. I think we should have more of this. Now, some people are questioning this notion just on the basis that, I mean, it's not going to be the same Missouri that people that were able to get it for free XP back in the day had, because it's going to have its credit income nerfed. Although rather unsportingly, wargaming has decided to allow people that already had it to keep that previous level of profitability. I mean, you know, if they were going to make it in a level playing field for everyone, they'd have nerfed this ship across the board. But for some reason, they had some weird some vestigial sense of fairness about the whole thing. So here we are. But yeah, basically, there is the notion that well, we can't just sell it. It's too special, even though it won't actually be special, which is obviously very logical. You know, I can 100% see how that argument absolutely holds water. But yeah, it seems almost a pity to me that more isn't being done this way. I mean, we almost have an underutilization of loot boxes, and yes, some might argue that the fact that now tech tree lines are being monetized this way with that FOMO factor and unique camos that can only be obtained through these preview loot boxes, and in some cases, as it's getting to be potentially quite high numbers of these loot boxes. But really, when you think about it, there's so much more with loot boxes that could be done. premium ships generally, for instance. I mean, why stop at the Missouri? Why not make every new premium ship, and hell, all the old premium ships, only available through loot boxes? So let's say you are in the market for a premium ship, you're enjoying the game, and you think, okay, I can get something that can make some more credits, and maybe even might be an enjoyable ship to play and train captains on and whatnot. So I'm going to go to the store. And really, ideally, what I'd like to see is that when you go to the store page, you no longer can just pay for the thing you want outright. I mean, come on, that's a ridiculous notion. That is such an old-fashioned notion. I mean, what is this, the 1900s? It's nonsensical. Who thinks that way anymore? So instead, what you should be able to do is you should be able to buy loot boxes that give you a chance of dropping the ship that you want. Or, you know, if Wargaming wasn't feeling quite that generous, you could buy a loot box for the tier of the ship. And, you know, if you get the specific one that you want, then, you know, hooray for you. But if you happen to get some really much less pleasant ship to play, or a ship that has nothing to do with any of the tech trees you're grinding, then, well, you know, just buy some more loot boxes. That's fine. That's how it should be. So when you look at it in that light, you'll see that what Wargaming is doing with the Missouri is frankly generous of them. I mean, the fact that you might only have to buy 72 loot boxes for a premium digital good that obviously, you know, Wargaming can't manufacture enough Missouris for everybody. This is why we have to have this well, partly why we have to have this mechanic to ensure that there's sufficient scarcity, because, you know, it would be impossible for Wargaming to make sure that there were enough Missouris for everyone that wanted to buy one. I mean, that's a ridiculous notion. I mean, again, what is this, the 1900s? Yeah, anyway, I don't know why I keep going back to the 1900s, but I do. So, of course, following on from that thought, we have the other major area of monetization in Warships, which is premium account time. Again, a thing that you can just buy in exact, discrete chunks, and you know exactly how much you're going to get for the money you're paying, which is just such an outmoded way of doing things. So again, we should apply the notion of loot boxes, where you go to the premium store, you go to account time, and you buy some account time loot boxes, and you open it up, and you might get 24 hours, you might get a month, maybe if you're really lucky you'll get 3 months. And obviously, you know, these will all cost, just to be fair to Wargaming here, they are but a poor starving charity after all. We should make these reasonably priced. So let's say, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4,000 doubloons a piece. And maybe some people might not like it, that the fact that you get 24 hours is way more prevalent than the 0.5% of the time that you would get a month, for example. But those people are just whiny little losers who don't understand how this is really a good thing for them and a good thing for the game overall. So as we can see, as I've demonstrated here, hopefully to everyone's satisfaction, is that the right word? But as I have tried to explain in my own humble way, loot boxes are not only a good thing at the moment, but they could be an even better thing if only Wargaming would just reach out and grasp all this low-hanging fruit that's waiting for them. In fact, if you wanted to be really radical, you could just get rid of the entire gameplay aspect altogether and follow the true visionary geniuses at Konami and the model that they took, where they decided, you know what, we don't want to actually make video games anymore, that's old hat, let's just make pachinko machines. And obviously Wargaming, following in those footsteps, could remove all of the unnecessary overheads and expenses of actually having to have servers for the game to play on, and to hire all these staff to balance and model and code, because really at the end of the day all you need is a really simple interface where you can just buy more loot boxes for things, not even 3D models of things, just 2D art of ships and, you know, whatever else, captains, and yeah, I mean, why bother with all this unnecessary stuff that the game has? You know, there's so much potential in World of Warships for more loot boxes that Wargaming is just leaving on the table, and it distresses me. It genuinely does. I can't believe I kept that shit up for 11 minutes. I don't know, I probably could have come up with more, but Jesus Christ. Anyway, so, yeah, /S for the entire previous part of this video if you somehow didn't pick that up already. I will be covering the whole Missouri situation with a bit more seriousness when we actually have something more to talk about. I could make a ranty video at the moment, because God knows I and enough other CCs are annoyed, despairing, outright angry at Wargaming right now. I mean, obviously we've had communication with the devs that you haven't seen and that we can't show you because it's in NDA channels, but I will tell you this, nobody's happy at the moment, and especially with the mindset that Wargaming seems to have with this whole thing and their response to us as CCs, the supposed community ambassadors and voices for the community. Because obviously, you know, that's how you make your game look good, is you piss off all the people that you have as your official community representatives. It's a real good look when you do that, Wargaming. No, really, it is. So anyway, I mean, I really hope this is one of those times when Wargaming, as I mentioned before, with the bundles, that they take stock, that they think, maybe everyone's making this fuss for a reason. Maybe everyone's really unhappy with us for a reason. Maybe we should go away and rethink our whole trajectory. Because, as I've said in the past, I am not particularly happy with how things are going, and I'm not the only one. And, well, you know, way back in the day with Foshgate, when that was a thing, when I quit as a CC for both World of Tanks and World of Warships, it took me a year to be persuaded to come back for World of Warships, because I genuinely thought things would be better, and for a time they were. But we're now back to a status quo where I kind of feel like I almost have as little impact as I did as a World of Tanks CC back in the day. And I do still enjoy playing the game more than I did World of Tanks at that point, but it has made me think, what am I doing here as a community contributor? And where is World of Warships going with this increasingly unethical monetization model? So anyway, I mean, really this video is me just venting off a bit through the powers of sarcasm, yay sarcasm, and I really hope Wargaming turns around their attitude on this, because if not, who knows where we're going to end up. Anyway, don't buy loot boxes, be a responsible consumer, and let's hope that we can also really get Wargaming to be a responsible free-to-play games company. Yeah. That's it for this video. If you have anything to add, you can do so below. I'm sure there might be a comment or two. And of course, otherwise, as always, stay tuned for more.